Tractate Zevachim, page 31b, top of the page, with the words Ha Le'echol Ve'le'echol Dumya. First words of the line on the top of the page. Ha Le'echol Ve'le'echol Dumya, Le'echol Haktir, Hachidami, Mishnei B'nei Adam, Stav Shmamina. It can be inferred that if one had intent to eat, and to eat in manner similar to a case of intent to eat half an olive bulk and to burn half an olive bulk, Abaye interjects. And what are the circumstances in such a case? It is a case with two people, meaning where each one will consume half an olive bulk. Abaye continues with the conclusion of his statement. When the two halves join together, the Gemara concludes, learn from it, that this is so. That Rava raises a dilemma. If one had intent to eat an olive bulk in more than the period of time that it takes to eat a half loaf of bread, what is the halacha? Do we equate the consumption of offerings to the consumption of the Most High, meaning the burning of offerings in the altar for which there is no maximum allotted time? Or do we equate it to the consumption of an ordinary person for whom consumption slower than this rate is not considered eating? Abaye said, come and hear a proof from the Mishnah. If his intent was to eat half an olive bulk and to burn half an olive bulk, not at the appropriate time or in the appropriate area, the offering is fit because eating and burning do not join together. One may infer that the reason the offering is fit is that he had intent to eat and to burn the offering. But if he had intent to eat half an olive bulk at the normal rate and to eat half an olive bulk in the time it takes to burn half an olive bulk, the two would join together. But the burning of an olive bulk of an offering can take more than the time it takes to eat a half loaf of bread. It therefore seems that there is no upper limit on the time in which one is considered to have consumed an offering. Dilma behese gadol. The Gemara rejects the proof. Perhaps the Mishnah is referring to intent to burn half an olive bulk in a large fire, which can consume it in the time it takes to eat a half loaf of bread. Accordingly, one may draw the inference only with regard to a case where his intent was to consume the halves of an olive bulk within this time. The Mishnah teaches if one slaughtered the animal with intent to eat half an olive bulk and to burn half an olive bulk, not at the appropriate time or in the appropriate area, the offering is fit. The Gemara infers the reason that the two halves of an olive bulk do not join together is because his intent was to eat half an olive bulk and to burn half an olive bulk. But if his intent was to eat half an olive bulk of the meat and to eat an olive bulk of an item whose typical manner is such that one does not partake of it, then the halves do join together and disqualify the offering, as both intentions concern eating. The Gemara notes an apparent contradiction. But the first clause of the Mishnah teaches, if one's intent was to partake of an item whose typical manner is such that one partakes of it beyond its designated time, his intent joining together to disqualify the offering. One can infer that only if his intent was to partake of an item whose typical manner is such that one partakes of it, one does his intent join together. But if his intent was to partake of an item whose typical manner is such that one does not partake of it, then it does not join together. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, Hamani, Rabbi Eliezer, he Amar Machilas Adam Lechilas Mizbeach, Machilas Mizbeach Lechilas Adam. Tnan, Hashochet es Hazevach leechol davar she'ein darko leechol, ulahaktir davar she'ein darko laktir kasher. Rabbi Eliezer posted. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, in accordance with whose opinion is this latter clause? It is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, who says one can have intent to shift an item's consumption from consumption of a person to consumption by the altar, or from consumption by the altar to consumption by a person, as we learned in another Mishnah 35a. In the case of one who slaughters the offering with intent to partake of an item whose typical manner is such that one does not to partake. Is that right? To partake of an item in typical manner is such that one does not partake of it, or to burn it. That's probably a typo. Or to burn an item whose typical manner is such that one does not burn it on the altar beyond its designated time or outside its designated area. The offering is fit, and Rabbi Eliezer deems it unfit. Abaye Omal, Abaye Omal, Abaye Omal, die, 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 die. Afilu tema Rabbanan, lo tema, velo tema. Ha'echol echol davar she'ein darko lechol ela ema ha'echol echol davar she'darko lechol. Abaye says you may even say that the latter clause is in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis, and do not say that one should infer from the Mishnah that if his intent was to eat half an olive bulk of an item normally consumed, and to eat half an olive bulk of an item whose typical manner is such that one does not partake of it, then the offering is disqualified. Rather, say that one infers that if his intent was to eat half an olive bulk and to eat another half an olive bulk, both halves from an item whose typical manner is such that one partakes of it, and the halves join together to disqualify the offering. My kamash malan idavar shidar kalechol kamash malan reishish maminam kachazi zayis bachut kachazi zayis machar pasol ha kachazi zayis lemachar pigol. The Gemara asks, if so, what is the latter clause teaching us? What is this latter clause teaching us? If it teaches us that 2 half olive bulks from an item whose typical manner is such that one partakes of it joined together, one can already learn from this, from the first clause of the Mishnah, if one has intent to consume half an olive bulk outside its designated area and half an olive bulk the next day, the offering is disqualified. One can infer that if his intent was to eat the first half of an olive bulk the next day, the offering would be rendered pigul. Ela ilechol ulahaktir. Midukya dereishish mamina lechol davar shedarka lechol in shedarka lechol lo. But if one will say that this item, this term teaches its literal meaning, that intentions to eat and to burn 2 halves of an olive bulk do not join together, one can already burn this from the inference drawn. One can already learn this from the inference drawn above from the first clause of the Mishnah, namely that intent to partake of an item whose typical manner is such that one partakes of it does disqualify the offering, but intent to partake of an item whose typical manner is such that one does not partake of it does not. By extension, intent to consume half an olive bulk of such an item does not join to disqualify the offering. Hashta umma lechol velechol davar she'ein darko lechol lo mitztaref lechol lo haktiri boy. Now, consider the following, and just as if when one has intent to partake of an item, normally eats intent to partake of an item whose typical manner is such that one does not partake of it, his intentions do not join together, even though both intentions concern consumption, is it necessary for the Mishnah to teach that intentions to consume and to burn do not join together. The last clause therefore seems unnecessary. Hasabahu delav ki orche kam machashev, aval hacha devihai ki orche uvahai ki orche eimal start. The Gemara responds, it was necessary for the Mishnah to explicitly address the case where one had intent to eat and to burn, as it might enter your mind to say that it is only there where one's intentions are referring solely to consumption that they do not join together, since he has intent to act in a way that is not consistent with his typical manner and consume an item that not normally consumed. But here, where his intent is to both eat and burn the offering, such that with regard to this half, he intends to act in a way consistent with its typical manner, and with regard to that half, he intends to act in a way consistent with its typical manner. One might say that they should join together. Therefore, the Mishnah teaches us that the intentions to eat and to burn do not join together. Hadran Allah kol Zevachim shekilu daman. We shall return to you, God willing, kol Zevachim shekilu daman. We finish this chapter and move on to the next chapter called Kol Aposulin Shishachatu. The Mishnah says, Kol Aposulin Shishachatu Shchitasam Kshecha Shashchita Kshecha Bezarim Uvenashim Uvadimim Afilu B'kach Chadash Bilvad Shelo Yiyu Tmeim Nogin B'Basel Lefikach Ein Posulin B'Machshava. With regard, the Mishnah says, with regard to all those who are unfit for temple service, who slaughtered an offering, their slaughter is valid, as the slaughter of an offering is valid, even to start off with, when performed even by non-priests, by women, by Canaanite slaves, and by ritually impure individuals. And this is the halacha, even with regard to offerings of the most sacred order, provided that the ritually impure will not touch the flesh of the slaughtered animal, thereby rendering it impure. Therefore, these unfit individuals can disqualify the offering with prohibited intent. For example, if one of them intended to partake of the offering beyond its designated time or outside its designated area. To be continued.